In this video, I'm going to share with you a little known fact about security guard pricing that most companies are getting wrong. Hello, welcome to YourSecurityBusiness.com. We help private security companies improve operations and earn more money. In this video, I want to talk to you about something most security guard companies are doing wrong when it comes to pricing their services. Most security guard companies are either using a flawed formula or have no specific method for setting their prices. We're going to show you the flaws of the most popular pricing formula and then share a more precise way to calculate your pricing that allows your business to stay afloat and make a profit. Before we begin, take a second and grab an ink pen, some paper, and a calculator. We're going to be digging deep into the numbers of running a profitable security business, and you're going to want to take your own notes to follow along. So let's get started. The most common formula for calculating bill rate is multiplying the hourly pay rate for the officer times 1.5. The logic behind this formula is by adding 50% to the hourly rate, that results in 50% gross profit. While this formula is better than no formula, it is a flawed approach because it does not take all factors into consideration. By omitting payroll expenses such as processing fees, taxes, insurance, etc., and overlooking your overhead costs and not considering your desired profit percentage, the 50% of pay rate formula is not a reliable solution for determining your pricing. So what's the most reliable way to figure out the pricing for your security guard services? It all begins with properly calculating the labor costs. To achieve this, add together the hourly pay rate and payroll expense. These two components, when combined, will yield your total labor cost. When it comes to calculating payroll expense, there are a variety of factors that need to be taken into account, including payroll taxes, unemployment insurances, and other insurances. On average, this adds up to about 10% of the hourly pay rate. If you are providing health insurance, however, your rate factor is much higher. The challenge is there's so many variations on health insurance costs, depending on your location and other factors, that we will not include insurance in this example. Now, of course, your bookkeeper or accountant should be able to tell you what the exact percentage is for your business. Be sure not to miss any hard costs associated with paying employees in order to get an accurate figure. So once again, here's the formula. Hourly pay rate plus payroll expense equals labor costs. For example, if you have an employee who makes $15 an hour and we add 10% payroll expense to that, that equals $16.10 per hour labor cost. Many security business owners often fail to take into account overhead when determining their labor costs. It is impossible to accurately determine your cost of fulfilling a contract without accounting for overhead. Overhead includes all expenses related to operating a successful security business, such as uniforms, supervisor salaries, phone services, office staff, wages, employee benefits. It goes on and on and on. To calculate your true cost of doing business or fulfilling a contract, you must include the hourly pay rate, payroll expense, and overhead expense. This will give you an accurate picture of what it truly costs for each hour worked. This is called your break-even rate. Here's the formula. Hourly pay rate plus payroll expense plus overhead rate equals break-even rate. Figuring out the correct overhead rate for your security guard business can be tricky. Your best bet is consulting with your accountant or bookkeeper to help you determine this number quickly and accurately. But don't worry, here's a fairly accurate way to estimate your overhead percentage. Generally speaking, small businesses with no office staff and no supervisors have an overhead rate of about 20%, while organizations with office staff and supervisors usually have an overhead percentage of about 30%. This is how you determine your break-even point. Let's look at the formula. Hourly pay rate plus payroll expense plus overhead rate equals break-even point. Here's an example. Once again, we have an officer who's making $15 an hour base pay. We add our 10% payroll expense and 30% estimated overhead expense. That equals $21.45 an hour break-even point. Any number below that and you're losing money. The concluding step in the calculation is to incorporate your desired profit percentage. As a security business owner, you get to determine what this number should be. However, 30% has become known as an acceptable gross profit margin within the security guarding industry. To figure out your quoted hourly rate, simply add together the break-even point and your desired profit percentage. Here's the formula. Break-even point plus desired profit percentage equals the bill rate. For example, once again, we've got that officer that took $15 an hour, and we're able to determine that the break-even point was $21.45. When we add 30% desired profit, that results in a bill rate of $27.89. YourSecurityBusiness.com is sponsored by Nearshore Direct. Nearshore Direct provides security companies with capable, competent, outsourced back office personnel and dispatchers for 40% less than hiring directly. Learn more by visiting NearshoreDirect.com. Earlier in this video, we mentioned how a lot of security guard companies come up with their pricing by multiplying the hourly pay rate plus 50%. Let's see how the common formula compares to our more precise formula. Using the common formula, we multiply $15 an hour base pay times 1.5, and that equals a bill rate of $22.50. When you compare that to the precise formula, the precise formula is $15 an hour plus 10% payroll expense and 30% overhead and 30% profit. That equals $27.89 bill rate. As you can see, there is a stark difference between the bill rate in these two examples. The security firm utilizing the hourly pay rate plus 50% will still make a profit, but their margins are razor thin. A $22.50 bill rate with a $21.45 break-even point results in a gross profit of only $1.05 an hour. They sure better hope that none of their business expenses increase, and they definitely better not ever go into overtime. So let's look at what happens if they had 8 hours of overtime due to a call-off. $15 an hour plus time and a half, which would be 1.5 or 50% above the rate, times 1.10, which is 10% payroll expense, and 30% overtime, times 8 hours of work, equals a total cost of $257.40 for that 1 8-hour shift. If we have a bill rate of $22.50, which we created by using the common practice of multiplying the $15 an hour times 1.5, and we multiply that times 8 hours, that equals $180 in revenue. When you subtract that $180 from the $257.40 overtime cost, that turns into a loss of $77.40. Remember, in this example, our bill rate may be $22.50, but we need $21.45 to break even. That results in a profit of only $1.05 per hour. Our loss from 8 hours of overtime is $77.40. If we divide that by the $1.05 per hour gross profit, that means that it takes 73.71 hours to break even. That's almost a full work week to break even from one 8-hour overtime shift. That's insane. Let's compare that with what happens if you have the same overtime scenario, except you price the job using our precise formula. Your overtime expense is the same as before, $207.40 for 8 hours of overtime for an employee who earns $15 an hour. And your break-even point is still $21.45, except in this case, you are charging $27.89. That's a profit of $6.44 per hour. When we calculate it, $27.89 an hour times 8 hours, that equals a gross revenue of $223.12. Remember, your overtime labor cost is still $257.40. That results in a loss of $34.38. So you still lose money. However, considering that your gross profit is $6.44 an hour, it only takes 5 hours to break even after 8 hours of overtime. This is compared to over a week of hours, 70 plus hours using the most common formula. Our precise formula results in over $5 more profit per hour and also builds in room for unexpected expenses like overtime. Okay, I know what you're thinking. What about the competition? What if they quote lower prices? If your competitors want to quote rates that are so low that they don't make money, you should let them do it. You will continue to do less work than them and still make more in the bank than them. And don't worry, if they continue to undercharge, they will be closing their doors before you know it. Do not allow your competitors to affect your pricing. Your pricing should only be affected by your pay rate, expenses, and desired profit margin. Now, we could go much deeper into competitive pricing, but that will have to wait for a later video. Ultimately, there is no one-size-fits-all formula that will apply to every security company. However, our more precise formula that we discussed in this video works in most cases, and it is always better than quoting the hourly rate plus 50%. Here's a bonus. Do you like the precise pricing method that we've shown here, but want an easier way to calculate it? We have you covered. We've created a security service pricing calculator online. All you have to do is enter your baseline numbers, and it will automatically do the math for you and tell you the best price based on your profit goals. All you have to do is visit yoursecuritybusiness.com and follow the link to the security pricing calculator. Hopefully, this video has motivated you to take another look at your pricing structure. Always remember, success in business is not determined by how much you bring in. It is determined by how much you keep after expenses. Thank you for watching, and be sure to check out our other videos for more helpful information.